Hello, everybody. This is Pete from PA Labs. And the one thing I haven't actually mentioned, I don't think, is that I've actually got the WarGame configuration all set up in the game. And I wanted to do this video on the WarGame configuration because it's a bit unique. What I wanted to use is out here. Oh, goodness. Get that to where you can read it. Out here in preferences, which is a pretty nice little INI file structure thing that's built into PureBasic. But my structure for the configuration exceeds its capabilities. Now, don't worry about studying this. I have an upcoming video in the next week or so that will go dive into the preferences section of the help system. But this video is on my WarGame configuration, and I wanted to put the the odds and the combat tables, attrition tables and stuff into the configuration to where if you hit the configuration tab, you can look up and see what all the probabilities are and what are the damages and whatnot that you'll encounter. And then in addition to that, I wanted to include the standard volume, FX volume, assuming that we have, troops marching and troops firing and stuff like that eventually. And then the next and previous, which is another thing I have actually working in the game right now, next and previous work. And what next and previous does is move you to the next or the previous unit that you have that can move or needs to use up his movement. So you can, tab your way around. And so you can configure it to exclude movement. So you can say next and previous and always go all the way around to the various units in your entire army. Or you can say, no, just make it unchecked, means include, checked means exclude. So if it's unchecked, which I believe is the default, then what he's going to do is he's only going to go to the next and previous ship or unit that has movement and hasn't used it. So you can't forget some unit somewhere. That's what next and previous is really a thing about. And I also included DiceRoll. So currently, the default setting for DiceRoll is 1d6. So in the attrition tables, you have 1 to 4 odds all the way to 4 to 1 odds. And then you have a 6, the dice roll of 6 determines what is the damage received by the attacker and defender. Okay, so the dice roll is an integer, but he points to a type table over here, and the type table gives you the ability to throw a 1d6, 2d4, or a 1d8. So granted, those are the same, but they're different because you're throwing 2 dice versus 1 dice. And then a 1d10 if you wanted. I guess we could probably throw in a 2d5 or something silly. But and maybe we could even add a 2d3. That'd be interesting. So, but right now, I don't have a setup screen as such for these. In the game player, you can view them, but I don't have, and this is a big kind of, I haven't decided where it would really belong. I'm guessing it's going to belong into the game creator, where you can go create all of this information for your game, at which time it may end up being on database tables and such like that. But for the moment, in the WarGame player, I'm trying to get the player working. and this has to come from someplace else. You don't want a game player going out there and changing the odds uh, in a game where, you know, when you're 1-to-1, you get a 50-50 damage, and on his 1-to-1, when he rolls it, he gets a different result, which just doesn't work. So this is just a view only. And for the moment, you can only set this in code. And that's kind of what I want to walk you through, is how and where this lives and works. So we have this declare module, and he's got 3 different tables in him. And so you have the odds table, which has a collection of odds, which means the dice roll and then the defender damage, attacker damage. So this is the dice rolls of roll, and that's a list. And then you have the odds. And then you also have the WarGame configuration, which includes volume and whatnot. So let's go look at it real quick, and then we'll jump into the code where it's being built. Because right now, the only way this can be changed or played with is from code. So we're going to host a game, and we'll start the server up and launch him. And then I, hit this guy here, and you have your music volume, you have your FX volume. Next and previous, you can exclude movements without movement. And then here's your odds tables. Okay, none of this is editable. The dice roll is down here, is on display for you to say, hey, we're throwing a 1d6. You have 6 options. And the damage is attacker damage over defender damage. So, and if you notice, 4-to-1 is reciprocated as 1-to-4. So the 4-to-1, 5 and 6 is the defender is eliminated and the attacker takes no damage. The reciprocal of that is the 1-to-4 odds, dice roll 1 and 2, the attacker is eliminated and the defender takes no damage. So 1-to-4 and 4-to-1, 1-to-3 and 3-to-1, 1-to-2 and 2-to-1 are reciprocals of each other. Okay, which in my thinking that makes logical sense. Now you don't have to keep with that structure. That is the structure I chose to build. And then we have the 1-to-1 odds, which pretty evenly match, come in here. Now, one of the things you have to consider when you're looking at the damage, this is percent of unit damage. So at 3-to-1 odds, if the attacker loses 10%, okay, then that's going to be 10% of his entire 3 times force, and the defender's losing 30%. So these numbers would be identical in damage. So if I attack you at 3 and I have 300 attacking to your 100, you're going to lose 30 points, okay? And I'm going to lose 300 times 10 is 30 points, okay? So I've taken that into consideration in these percentages. That's something I don't think the Amazon or the Avalon Hill folks, I guess they did, but I never particularly cared for the 3-to-1 odds where the defender wins and the attacker loses, 3 attacking units to 1 little defending unit. And you should have overwhelmed him, and the attacker takes, or the defender takes, virtually no damage and the attacker is wiped out. I don't see that as reality. So I prefer doing the statistics this way. And this is taking out individual elements on the various units involved in the action. Okay, so that is this. Let's see. If we jump around here, what we're going to do, and you'll see it, I think, with this. There you go. Do you see how the cursor, my gauntlet, moved directly on top of the unit in question? So if I come up here and hit it again, we're going to jump to another unit on the board, which is way down close to the bottom. He centers the screen and puts the cursor over it to where you can actually now click him and come up and start moving him. Okay. So that is how next and previous works. So there's the both of those. So now let's get a little bit more into the nitty gritty of the configuration files. So where are they saved? Well, it comes back out here. It's all encompassed here. So we have a save. Let's see. Got to remember how I did this. It's been a few days, I'll tell you that. Initialize config. Where is that going to jump us? Aha. Okay, that's right. This is our screen, the FRM screen. So we have a rather large block of code here. And depending on the dice roll in question, this is building the data grid. Let's see, here's that screen that we had. And I put the configuration as manually in here. So it's very easy for you to come in and change it. The initialization configuration function here sets the dice roll to be 1 to 6. And you have the volume. This is just defaulting stuff. So then what he does is he takes our object and loads him manually. And basically all of this is going to be somehow incorporated into the creator at some point. But it's kind of out of scope for the WarGame, but the WarGame needs it. So this was my solution. So he comes into here on 1 to 4, and he just manually sets all of these values, okay? And you get to 1 to 3, and then 1 to 2, and then 1 to 1, 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1. And I have him being saved as just a JSON file. When you actually call the save function here, he converts it to a JSON file and then writes the string to the file in question. Okay, so this is actually a big pass through from up here. And let's see, config name. Yes, let's go get config name. Config name is defined right here as the temporary directory WarGame config CFG, config game. Okay, so that is the inner workings of how the WarGame configuration screen and the next and previous are configured. So I wanted to point that out in a video. I think y'all like to walk the code and see how the code works. So I stuck all the code really is sitting out here in the WarGame configure view, the FRM WarGame configure. And then we have the dice roll type. And then we have the WarGame configuration. Now, the dice roller, that's what we're going to be messing with in combat. The dice roller has the functions in him to be able to do just about anything you like. He can come out here and you can pass him a formula. A formula is 1d6. You could pass him a formula of 1d6 minus 2 plus 3 times 12, and it'll kick back the answer to you. And if you give him a tracking list, then which you pretty much have to give him, he'll actually return the tracking list to your calling function and show you how all the math worked out. Okay, so he doesn't work under the concept of but trust me, I do my math correctly. It's the one thing you learn real fast in computers is computers can lie very, very easily and very fast. So Don't ever take them at their word. Make them prove it. And so that's what this is all about. So that is how the configuration works, the next and previous works, and how eventually combat's going to work from a standpoint of rolling dice and then looking up the results and then coming back and doing damage to the physical units. So as always, thank you very much for watching.